Hello, everybody. Welcome so much. And thank you for joining us tonight to find out how the Michigan Dems built a robust year-round grassroots program. We are honored to be joined by all of you tonight, elected officials, party leaders, and activists doing the hard work on the ground. And many thanks, many thanks to the folks who helped us pull together this session tonight. It takes a village, we really appreciate everybody's help. I'm Susan Blunt, one of the directors of Neighbors on Call, and in a few minutes you'll hear also from Rebecca Zirkin, the other co-director. Neighbors on Call, sometimes called NOC, is an all-volunteer organization that helps elect Democrats to the North Carolina State Legislature. In the last election cycle, we knocked about 25,000 doors for key races in Alamance and Wake counties. We're all here tonight because we believe in the ideals of the Democratic Party and our Democrat elected officials and in progressive policy that will make a tangible difference in the lives of North Carolinians. It's safe to say that everyone here invested serious sweat equity in electing Democrats last year. Thank you so much. Becca?
Hi, I'm Becca Zirkin. I'm the other director of Neighbors on Call. In North Carolina, we didn't get the results that we wanted last year. Republicans won every statewide race, won a supermajority in the state Senate, and are only one seat shy of a supermajority in the state House. But it doesn't have to be this way. A lot of Democratic votes were left on the table last year. Our voters are out there. Michigan, on the other hand, had the election night that we all dreamed of. So we really want to hear about their formula for success. We're so grateful to Lavora Barnes, the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party, for being so generous with her time and wisdom tonight, and to State Representative Diamond Staton-Williams, who will lead this conversation. Just so you know what to expect, there will not be an opportunity for live audience Q&A tonight, and thank you to those of you who emailed the questions to us in advance. Now I am pleased to pass the mic to Senator Sidney Batch from Southern Wake County, who will introduce our speakers. In 2022, Senator Batch ran an intense field campaign to hold on to a tough seat, and she is now the senior deputy leader of the Senate Democratic Caucus. Congratulations, Senator, and thank you so much for kicking off this event.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been, and of course, Representative Staton-Williams could tell you, it's been a really rough 6 days already at the legislature. And while 2022 did not actually bode well necessarily for the Senate, we actually are only one vote away from calling our seats back to a out of the super minority. What I will tell you all, though, is that despite the fact that we have, they've closed the ranks and they've won seats that we did not want them to win, there is still a lot of hope. They are going to regret putting us in a position of which all I have now is time on my hands to come up with all of the ideas that are going to, of course, drive us to 2024 and for us to win so many more seats. Part of that, just so you guys to give you hope, is that I hope you all saw the news that Roe v. Wade, we dropped our Casey and Roe bill for protections for women in North Carolina, and we had every single Democrat in the legislature sign on and be sponsors to that bill. So we know where the floor is. We told the Republicans they can negotiate up, but this is why we're here. And so we are doing a lot of work despite the challenges. And so I'm really, really excited to introduce, Chair Barnes. We're grateful for the time that you're taking to be with us today. You will not find any more invigorated and amazing volunteers than the NOC community. And they are single-handedly the best organization that we have in our state with regards to a field presence. And so if we could just duplicate that throughout the rest of our state, hopefully we'll be like Michigan one day, but we look forward to hearing obviously everything that you have to share with us today. So we're very grateful for you to be here. So Lavora Barnes is the chair of the Michigan Democratic Party. She was elected in 2019, and she's the first Black person elected to this post. In 2017, as the chief operating officer, she launched the party's Project 83. And its mission is to empower local Democrats and activists in Michigan's 83 counties to organize in their communities, recruit and train volunteers on grassroots mobilization, and elect Democrats to local offices. The party's ongoing investment in building this infrastructure has changed the state. In 2018, Michigan Democrats swept statewide partisan offices, flipped 2 congressional seats, and gained a the Supreme Court majority. In 2020, they turned Michigan blue for Biden, swept statewide offices again, and defended all of their state congressional seats. And again, in 2022, continuing to rack up the wins, they swept statewide offices again, won majorities in both the state Senate and the state House, and won 197 of 232 school board races that they were organized in. That is what we want to be in North Carolina. That is hopefully where we will be. And we are very, very grateful for Chair Barnes to be here tonight and to speak with us. And I'm also very happy and excited to, of course, introduce Representative Diamond Staton-Williams. Representative Williams was elected in 2022, and she won her race in House District 73 in Cabarrus County, which is about north of Charlotte, for those of you who are geographically challenged like myself. It was one of the closest legislative races in our state, and she won by 629 votes. And one of the most crucial races that we have. Her victory staved off a Republican supermajority in the House, and it means that now House Democrats can hold the line, and we have enough votes to sustain the governor's vetoes on such crucial bills that we'll see this year. When she's not saving our democracy, she is very busy being a badass mom to 3 kiddos and working as a nurse and as a small business owner to boot. In 2017, she became the first Black woman elected to town council in Harrisburg, and she has served on the Harrisburg Town Council for 5 years. And she does not look old enough to have done any of that, but she is doing it with grace, panache, and a whole bunch of style. So without further ado, I just want to introduce them both for the conversation. I look forward to hearing it. But I also want to thank Knox for, of course, lifting up the amazing voices of Black women across the state. You guys show up every single day, and you actually believe in equity. You believe in inclusion. And I just want to thank you all for elevating two powerful women in our democracy, saving democracy, and doing yeoman's work every single day. So without further ado, take it away.
Thank you, Senator Batch. I appreciate that. And I appreciate Knock for having this opportunity for us to have this intimate conversation with Lavora Barnes. So Lavora.
Yes, ma'am.
Call you that. It's
can.
So good to be amongst another first of our kind. And I'm grateful for you.
I have to say, I noticed in the intro that it wasn't mentioned, and I thought maybe I was invited because I was born in North Carolina. I was born in Goldsboro, North Carolina. Still have family in North Carolina, still have property in Henderson, North Carolina. I'm a North Carolinian deep down in my roots, folks. So it's great to be here with all of you.
So it sounds like we just need to get you to move back home. It'd be
Love
great
North Carolina with all my heart. Yes.
Well, that's awesome. I'm glad to know that. I'm a native North Carolinian myself, so I'm grateful for you to be here. One of the things that I wanted to know more about you is what brought this Project 83 around? Why did you start it, and how did you model that to really bring results for Michigan?
So it's a story I've told so many times. It's like reliving the history over and over again of the awful thing that happened to us here in Michigan in 2016. I came to the party as party staff, ED and Chief Operating Officer in 2015. And we knew we had a lot of work to do at the party, but really did not have the time to get that work done in order to be ready for the 2016 presidential election. So we, like many other states, counted on a national campaign and a national party to come in and set up a structure. And then when we lost by just over 10,000 votes to Donald Trump, we, rather than pointing fingers out, sort of pulled out the mirror and looked at what we could do as a party to make sure that never happened to us again. And the one thing that we saw was that the Clinton campaign just got there too late to build any sort of structure that could have put together a grassroots ground game. So we decided in 2017 to start our own year-round organizing program. We named it Project 83 after going through some very interesting name suggestions. Project Phoenix, Rising from the Ashes, was one of them. But we chose Project 83 because of the 83 counties in Michigan to signify our intention to organize everywhere, because we know that there are Democrats everywhere, no matter how red that county looks on paper. Democrats live there. We just needed to find them, talk to them, and encourage them to find other Democrats and get them to vote. So we built Project 83 out of the ashes of that 2016 campaign. I'm an organizer at heart. I come from organizing. I organized on campaigns all my life, and I came to a party and sort of looked around and thought, wow, we don't actually have any organizers on this staff. We're a staff of folks who, manage lists and do outreach in different ways, but we didn't have true organizers. And I wanted us to have a true organizing program at the grassroots, and then help our local and county and district clubs organize as well. So many of our clubs, no disrespect to any of them, have become sort of glorified dinner clubs and book clubs. They weren't actually about the business of electing Democrats. They were just about gathering together to commiserate about not winning. And we set about giving them the tools to actually organize, to provide support for candidates running from the bottom of the ticket to the top, and very much called it a bottom-up approach. The top of the ticket is always going to have the funding and the resources and the attention. It's the bottom of the ticket that gets ignored so much, but could really make the difference in terms of not just local elections, but statewide elections. Because if you get someone to show up to vote for city council or township commissioner or state rep or state senator, while they're there, they're going to vote for the other Democrats on the ballot, including up the ticket. So we came at it with a bottom-up approach, and it's worked. It's hard work. It is a commitment that we had to make to believe in this program and to get folks to understand and believe what we were trying to do. But we managed to hold on to it and keep it growing and building. And here we are with some good victories under our belts, with Project 83 as a big part of making that happen.
That's awesome. That's awesome. It's good to see your work come to fruition, and especially knowing that you're doing this year round. I know that's taxing for a lot of people. How did you continue to persuade people to stay involved year round to get the work done?
So one of the things our team does, I like to call them on-ramps, right? Instead of having a prescriptive approach where we tell people, I need you to do X, Y, and Z and only X, Y, and Z. And I think all of you have seen this happen, where campaigns come in and you come in the door and ask for a yard sign, and they tell you you've got to sign up for 3 shifts before you can have a yard sign. What we decided was that we needed to accept what folks were willing to give us. So if you walked into our door and you were willing to take a yard sign, we were grateful for that yard sign. We were kind about receiving that yard sign, and then we call you back and ask you to make a phone call or knock a door or volunteer. But we allow folks on ramps that work for them. If you're comfortable knocking doors, we have doors for you. If you're comfortable making phone calls, we have phone calls for you. If you're comfortable sending text messages, we have text messages for you. Whatever it is that makes you comfortable, that allows you the space to have that conversation with your neighbors about what issues are important to you and your community, and what issues are important to your neighbor, and why you're a Democrat. We want to give you the tools to have those conversations. And I think it was a new approach for some folks, particularly at our county and local party level, who are accustomed to the party or the coordinated campaign coming in with a very specific prescription. This is what we need you to do. This is how many doors we need you to get done. And instead, we were asking them to build a program with us. This is your neighborhood. This is your community. You tell us what works, and we will do what we can to support you to do what works. And of course, we're going to advise you. If what you think works is something we know doesn't work, we're going to say that, and we're not going to offer you funding for 7 billboards on one street, but we will support your efforts when we know that they are good efforts to make sure that we're talking to Democrats up and down all the time. And the conversation's ongoing. And I was telling somebody this story today. It is not always, door knocking year round, although we do door knock year round. But in some counties in Michigan, we need to have a fish fry. In some counties in Michigan, we need to have a picnic. And I tell our county party folks, just do something, right? Do something. That's where we were in 2017. Just do something so that other folks know that there are Democrats around. And the something built to something else, and it built to something else. And now I go into red counties and I go to some of the biggest events because they've been building over time to get to where they can have large rooms of folks who are supporting the work that they're doing. And they're electing Democrats on the local level, which of course trickles up. But it all has to start with do something. Don't just sit there.
I love that because you're absolutely right. We just have to do something.
Do
I
something.
can't take a lot of time to sit on my hands or get on the internet and twiddle my thumbs with people. I'm like, yeah, let's do something.
Do
Let's
something.
actively do something. Was there a pattern around each election cycle since 2016 that you guys engaged in?
Yeah, so we do the work year round. The Project 83 team does the work year round. And then, we still build a coordinated campaign on top of the work that Project 83 does. But we usually start in this fall, so winter, sorry, right now, post-election with trainings, right? So this is where, folks who have not been part of our organization before, have not done the work before, are participating in trainings, learning who we are as a party, what we do, and what we might ask of them. And we support our county and local parties in developing these trainings. And then we do trainings ourselves to make sure folks know what's out there, what the tools are, what's available. And then we move from the training phase into the contact phase very quickly. Like once someone has been through one of our trainings, they are given the tools to make the access that they need, whether it's participating in a phone bank or doing a text bank conversation or on the doors, recognizing, of course, it is Michigan, winter happens, doors are not happening in the snow all the time, although our Upper Peninsula organizer will knock doors in the snow with many, many volunteers right with him. So he doesn't give up because of the snow, but we really do build sort of a pattern where we train and then we get to work and then we train some more and then we get to work some more and we just keep going. And I will say another thing that's unique to Project 83, some of these organizers have been with us since 2017.
Oh, wow.
And this is a big deal because there's so much turnover in the world of organizing, but we pay them well, we treat them with respect, and they are some of the best organizers I've ever worked with. And we didn't hire newbies, no disrespect to young folks who want their first job, but these jobs we thought required a level of experience and skill that allowed them to be able to pivot, to be able to be differential and understand what works in one place might not work in another place, and not have to have that specific prescription of I need you to have this many volunteers doing this many doors. I needed people who understand the territory and understand what works in their community and then go get after it.
Yeah, that's what I call institutional knowledge in the nursing field. Like I need someone who already knows. So when it's time for me to do, it's easier for the rest of us.
Exactly.
And we can build in and help the new people get on. So that's good to hear. It sounds like you are very integrated with the different chapters of the party in each county. Is there anything in particular that you would say, besides doing something every month or every quarter, that each especially in your rural areas, that really help to support the work?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we ask of our folks that I think was relatively new to the creation of Project 83 is recruiting candidates to run everywhere. The idea that some Republican gets to walk into a seat because nobody filed to run against him or her was just painful to me. So we've been asking for years now, all of our county and local folks to recruit folks to run everywhere. And recognizing not everybody wins, right? You're not doing this because you're going to win. But when there is a Democrat on the ballot, when there is a Democrat having conversations about that election, you increase Democratic turnout and enthusiasm. So Democrats running everywhere. And then we had to help people understand like what a candidate is and to think outside the box about who is okay to recruit. Because I think a lot of us as Democrats are always looking for perfection in our folks. And a lot of us are looking for perfection in ourselves. People say, I can't run because I don't know all the issues, because I don't know all the answers. And I have to tell you, just look over at the Republicans, they don't know anything and they run. Right. So yes, you can run. And so we've been very, very careful about diversity in our recruitment and understanding that people from all walks of life, people at all age ranges can run for office and can win offices. And we've had folks win in places that we didn't think we could win Democrats because somebody caught fire, because somebody decided to run and then caught fire. So we've flipped county commission seats that nobody thought we could flip. We've flipped township commissions that nobody now. No, I mean, we have not taken over Michigan. Republicans still are in control in a lot of our counties, but we have made a lot of progress that I think people did not expect to see happen. It also helps our Republicans are in a bit of disarray here, but we've got folks running. So that was a big change for us, was let's run people for everything everywhere.
Yeah, running for office and being an elected official is truly a on-the-job training, right? And we have to do some things different. So it sounds like you credit Project 83 with some very amazing wins. So tell me about 2022 and those wins.
I'm so proud of what we were able to accomplish in 2022. You saw, I think most folks saw that we were able to, return our 3 statewide elected officials who we won in 2018. So Governor Whitmer and Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson and Attorney General Dana Nessel. We also here in Michigan, we elect our State Board of Education. We elect our education boards for our big universities. So for U of M, Wayne State, and MSU, won all of those also. Flipped the state house and also flipped the state Senate for the first time in 4 decades. Like, there are people in this state who do not remember when Democrats had control of the Senate. And now we have the trifecta, all of them. And it's a thrill now to watch them start to run through all of the legislation, all the things we've been talking about doing as Democrats for years, we can finally get done. We're increasing the earned income tax credit. We're rolling back the pension tax. We're talking about right to work, and we need to get rid of that. Like, all of the things that we believe in as Democrats, we now get to do. We also had on our ballot an initiative to protect abortion rights here in Michigan. And our coordinated campaign and our Project 83 team were the field campaign for that ballot initiative. That's how well coordinated we are lucky enough to be here in Michigan. And so another victory for us, which sort of mirrored the victory we did on ballot initiatives in 2018, where we changed our voting laws so that we can have no reason absentee voting. We can have same-day voter registration. All of that contributes to our ability to win up and down the ticket here in Michigan. It's once you get rolling, once you get the thing started and you're patient with it, and you have support from folks who are willing to invest in and believe in a program, you can do terrific things, but you do have to have some patience. I know, your North Carolina Dems have started a year-round program in 21. It takes a minute. Right? Like, we didn't wake up after we started Project 83 in 2017 and say, oh, we're done. We got it done. It takes a minute. And I think that's one of the things that you have to have, is a little bit of patience and a little bit of understanding that it has to build, it has to grow, it has to come from the grassroots. You've got to find folks who are willing to do the work, and then you've got to support them in that work.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree with that. You mentioned earlier that you you pay people well. So what does that look like in Project 83? How many of those are paid staffers versus volunteers? And what is a good rate of pay for?
So our Project 83 organizers are all paid. They are all full-time staff. They make roughly $60,000 a year to do that work. They are worth more. They are very loyal to the party and the program, so they do the work for the $60K because they believe in what we're doing, but I wish I could pay them more. They tell me, don't give me raises, give me more organizers. So we've got to plan this cycle to grow the team. What we did this past cycle in growing the team was get some very specific county specific Project 83 organizers. So most of our Project 83 organizers have a turf that's multiple counties, but we saw some movement in counties that we felt we needed to capitalize on. So we hired an Oakland County specific organizer, a Kent County specific organizer. And I know that you're going to have, some of our legislative leaders on next week, and you're going to hear that a lot of the victories happened in Oakland County and Kent County. We recognized that this was a place that was going to be ground zero for what was happening in the legislature. So we hired county specific organizers. I want to continue to do that. And we're going to start a fellowship program where we bring in young folks. We will pay them. We'll pay them probably about $15.50 an hour to work with and under our Project 83 organizers to learn, because as some of my organizers remind me, they're not going to do it forever. We're going to want to grow this program, and we want to bring folks in who've done the work with our organizers and are ready to step up and continue the work.
That sounds like great succession planning.
Yes, that's the goal. That's the goal.
Great succession planning. It sounds like for Oakland County and Kent that those individuals live there.
Yes.
How important is that to have people that
Very.
actually live in those communities to be able to help organize?
Very, very, it's vital. All of our organizers live in the turf that they work. They get hired to work where they live. It's a bigger territory, obviously, than that town that they come from, but they are all very familiar with their local politics, their local people. Some of them are elected officials locally themselves. They run for school board, they run for county commission, they run for other things. And we encourage that. They are all local. I have to say, when I was running for chair, one of the things that I told folks over and over again is that I wanted our organizers to organize where they live and to come from where they live. I was tired of meeting young folks from Pennsylvania that the coordinated campaign had brought in to organize in Michigan. Nothing against my friends in Pennsylvania, but that's not Michigan. And I need people who understand the cities and towns that I've asked them to organize. So all of our Project 83 organizers organize locally. And we try our best when we ramp up for our coordinated campaign to hire as much local staff as we can to organize locally. You all know the difference it makes when you've got an organizer who knows the community, understands the norms of the community, understands what's important to a community. It's very different from bringing someone from outside who just read about it in a book or a manual. It's very different. So we are very keen on hiring folks to work in the communities they live, and we are obsessed with diversity. I will never have a party that does not represent and look like the state of Michigan. So we hire folks from all walks of life because that's who we are as Michigan, and that's who we are as Democrats.
I appreciate that. I appreciate that. So how do you retain those organizers? You know, it's one thing about recruiting, but how are we keeping them on board?
You know, we treat them well. I brag about them everywhere they go. They love that. Some of them have taken to calling themselves Lavora's Army. They are very loyal. They are good folks who enjoy the work that they do and appreciate the support that the party gives them for the work that they do. They are not an afterthought. They are not an add-on. They are the core of who we are as a party, and they know it. And they're proud of it. So they've got their own scarves and gloves and hats that identify them as being an important part of this team. And they brag on themselves and each other. And it's just a really good group that works really well together. So they're happy to stick around. I have to say, in politics, there aren't a lot of places where you can get a year-round, all the time political job, because there's so much. We still operate in this world where folks hire up staff near election time and then let them go. And these are full-time year-round jobs they can keep for as long as they continue to do the work. So they stick around because they believe in the work that we do and because they know they've got the support of this party behind them.
Yeah, well, especially if they have a great boss like you, I would absolutely follow you and do whatever needs to be done.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for leading this project. Now, I heard you say you paid them $60,000 a year. How do you get this funding? Where does this money come from? Is it growing off trees? Tell me now. What is it? How do we make that happen?
It is definitely not growing off of trees. And I will say that the wins that we have had have made it easier. When we started in 2017, my commitment to hiring organizers was such that as people left after the 2016 cycle, there were positions in our headquarters that I did not fill so that I could hire organizers. Now, that is not something I would recommend to everybody. I did it because I knew that I could carry the load and I could do the work. So if I needed to play communications director for a while and finance director for a while and membership director for a while, and I did it so that we could have organizers on the ground. There was a sacrifice. And one of the things I would say is I traveled the state talking about this is like, I'm going out on a limb here, people, and I'm hoping that you won't saw it off behind me, but I'm going to hire these folks and I need you to help me raise the money to pay them. And they did, and we did some interesting things. So we would have local house parties, which were help me fund your organizer. And they would come to the house party, they'd meet their local organizer, they'd fall in love with their local organizer because they're so terrific, and then they donate to help. So much of Project 83 started with grassroots fundraising, where we were literally in people's homes asking them to help us fund Project 83. as we have grown and as we've gotten more famous around the country, it has become easier for me to tell the story of Project 83 and the victories and to raise the money. But it's also gotten more expensive. I went from spending about $500,000 on Project 83 to about $2.5 million on Project 83. It's worth every penny, but it continues to be a chore to raise it. I don't know if you all have ever tried to raise money for a state party, but it is not sexy money. Folks love to give to candidates and campaigns, and you've got to find a special kind of donor who understands the importance of investing in state party infrastructure. And once you find those donors, you treat them like gold, because people who understand state parties and care enough to donate are so special. But it's so important to the work we do. People here in Michigan understand and have heard me say so many times that I believe that this state party is the information, the superhighway that candidates put their cars on. And without the work that our team does, starting with Project 83, candidates can't win. They need this sort of support from their state party. And the way you get it is, of course, to continue to fundraise and ask people to support the programs that you've built.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree about that. You have to have great teammates that are paid well. And, one of the things that for us this year, or for me as a candidate, I know it was very difficult for a lot of our longtime givers to give additional funds. How did you approach that for people who just felt tapped out and it was hard for them to even see a win?
Yeah, it was hard. And I think one of the things is many people with small donations was how it started, right? Instead of the big donors that the stories are written about, the small donor who allowed me to sit in her kitchen with 7 of her friends and tell the story. And maybe I walked out with $500, but it was $500 more than I had before I went into that kitchen. It's building from there. And then a friend tells a friend and tells a friend, and it grows. And now we've got folks who are just sort of sustaining supporters, who are like monthly givers, who send money to the party every month to help us cover the costs of Project 83. And all the other work that we do. Let's be clear. Project 83 is about 40% of the overall budget, but an important part of it, and a big selling point to the donors of the work that we do. But small donations, big donations, we try to find, as I said before, I'm all about my on-ramps. I'm not going to say no to anybody. If you've got $5 for me, thank you very much.
Every dollar counts.
Exactly.
Every dollar counts.
Exactly.
Now, if you could have your druthers, what would you invest in more so? What data, personnel, more organizers?
I can never have enough organized. I know it's because I am an organizer at heart, and I understand so much the importance of having a good, strong core of organizers on the ground. So every time we get a little extra money in the door, I am tossing it at organizers. And I'm just now being reminded by some of our elected officials that maybe I could add another person to the communication staff or another person to the finance staff to help me raise money. And we're doing that as well, but always more organizers and more tools for the organizers to do the work that they do. They've done a terrific job training our volunteers on how to use the van and how to use the texting program and how to do relational organizing and how to build a neighborhood team. And I want to continue to give them the tools that they need. And those tools are expensive. So raising money to make sure we have those tools. And then of course, more organizers.
I appreciate that. So do you guys collaborate with any other outside groups? So for us, we have Down Home or Siempre. How do you partner with them?
So that's a really great question. I'm glad you asked it, because I think that I won't speak for other states, but in Michigan, before I came to the party, it felt like the party was acting like these other groups were competitors rather than partners. And we treat all of these folks as partners. I don't need all the credit for anything. I am happy to share the work and share the load. So we here in Michigan have a very strong C3, C4 family here in Michigan. We have terrific folks who do IE work here in Michigan, and where we can legally, we collaborate. When the walls go up, obviously we can't talk about the work that we are doing, but when those walls are down and we are able to talk, we talk through programming and planning, and those folks understand my capacity, how many folks I have and where they are. They understand where my targets are. before the walls go up, so that when the walls go up, they can concentrate their efforts on helping to support the work that we are doing, and we try not to duplicate efforts. The other thing we do is that we all are participating in, I don't know if you all know about this, but there's a data exchange that allows us to share data legally across those lines, and we all participate in that. So I can see where the folks on the IE side have been knocking doors or doing other outreach, and not duplicate those efforts, and take some of those IDs that they have picked up and use them in our programs as well, and they can do the same with ours. And we share that way across the data exchange legally, so that they can see what we're doing and we can see what they're doing. It's such an important part of the work that we do. If we didn't collaborate the way we do here in Michigan, I don't think that we would have been able to win. And none of it was one organization, not even ours. All of it was all of these groups working together toward the same goal, and not fighting amongst ourselves or competing with each other or saying bad things about each other in order to get dollars, right? Like, don't give to them. We don't do that here in Michigan. We are give to us and give to us and give to, and it works. And it also helps that a lot of us have just been doing this work in Michigan for a while, and we know each other. So it's a big family here in Michigan of folks on both sides of that coordinated wall.
Oh, I think I'm back.
Oh, you
Yeah.
were frozen. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm back. Broadband, we need to expand that everywhere.
Yes, we do.
It's
Joe Biden, thank
successful
you.
for everyone. So with that, what kind of pitfalls or turns, wrong turns did you have, and how did you overcome it?
I would say that the biggest wrong turn we had was after we built Project 83 in 2017. In 2018, when we built the coordinated campaign, we folded the Project 83 team into the coordinated campaign. And what happened, in my opinion, was that our down ballot races suffered. So we determined that that was not the right approach for us here in Michigan. So we continue to keep Project 83 as a separate operation from the coordinated campaign, so that they continue to be very focused on what's happening locally and what's happening down ballot. You all have seen it happen. A coordinated campaign gets very focused on the top of the ticket. And while we are very coordinated here in Michigan, and our coordinated campaign includes everyone, it is very rare for us to have a piece of lit that goes all the way down to school board, although I did it this cycle. People thought I was crazy, but it's very rare. But when you've got a team of folks who are focused on school board, on township council, on city council, on county commission, you can win those races in coordination with your coordinated campaign. But if nobody is focused there, if your organizers are so focused on getting the top of the ticket elected that they can't pay attention to helping our local folks run good races, you can't win the good races. So Project 83 now remains separate. They continue to be focused on helping our local candidates build good programs. Our team will help you, build out your walklet, do a mail program if it's what you want to do, build out your phone, choose your targets, like all of that sort of work to make sure folks are running good, strong campaigns, tell you not to spend money on digital ads, tell you, right? All of that, our Project 83 team acts as sort of a super organizer for those local campaigns. And it's been very effective in getting locals elected. And they continue to support the coordinated campaign. During COVID, this is interesting, the Biden team came in and we built up our program to support the work that the Biden team came in. But there were folks on that team who didn't ever come to Michigan because we were working virtually. Well, how you get yard signs to people if nobody's in Michigan, right?
Right.
Project 83 is how you get yard signs to people when nobody's in Michigan. So the fact that we had that separate group of folks on the ground ready to go really made a difference in letting us continue to do the work we did in 20, even though we were virtually completely virtual for much of that time. Our team still on the street, still out there making sure folks had yard signs and lit, were on doors if they were comfortable being on doors. We started doors before the Biden team was ready for us to start doors because we figured out, we knew we could do it. Like, we had trained our folks. Exactly. We knew what to do. We asked people, are you comfortable knocking a door, then stepping back 6 feet and talking to someone from a distance on their porch? And they're like, yes, let me at them. And so we did it. And then we showed the, Biden team how to do it. And it really makes a difference when you've got a team of folks who are just dedicated to the work. And that's what Project 83 is. They just believe wholeheartedly in what they do.
So if I was going to build myself a Project 83 or Project 100 for North Carolina, what would be my first, second, third, 100th step to do to get there?
Well, step one is you got to make sure you have some money in the bank so that you can pay some organizers. And then you need to just start with a handful. Like, it's just like what I said, just do something. I think a lot of folks think that they need to start with, 25, 50, 100 organizers. Start with 2, start with 7, right? Start with how many you can afford, but start and get them hired, and hire folks who know the territory, who know their turf. And if you can only start small, I would pick the parts of my state that need the most attention and that I can get the most progress out of, the potential, right? So don't pick the reddest, but also don't pick the bluest, right? But pick the spot where you feel like you can make the biggest impact, because when you show the impact, then you can grow the program. People will invest because you've been able to show the impact. And just get a couple of good people on the ground and get them to work. Build out a program that's about finding good volunteers and giving them the support they need to be talking to voters all the time. And that's such a big part of this. These conversations with voters cannot happen just from September to November of an election year. We can't do that anymore. That is not how we're going to win. These conversations that Project 83 and the volunteers are having, they aren't even asking for votes right now because there's not an election right now. They're having a conversation about issues. They're telling the story of what this Democratic-led legislature is doing for Michiganders. And these conversations are so important because when we go back and ask for a vote, often it's somebody who's been to your door 2 or 3 times at this point. It's somebody you know because they've been organizing that territory for a while. And those future conversations are, I'm going to need you to vote for so-and-so, right? But the first few conversations really do need to be that sort of deep organizing conversation about issues, about life in the neighborhood, your neighbors. You're talking to your neighbors, right? Life in the neighborhood. Did you see what happened down the street? There was another accident because there's not a stoplight. Join me in figuring out how we get that stoplight. Those conversations are how you start this. And then you build it to the point where you're asking people for votes.
Yeah, I appreciate that because that's vitally important. Which part of campaigning for Project 83, how do you focus attention on the candidates? How do you focus attention on what needs to be taken care of? How's that divvied out in the organization?
So our Project 83 organizers basically have two jobs, right? On the one side, they're responsible for helping our county and local parties organize themselves to support candidates because we're the party and I believe in building that strong party from the bottom up. So I want county and local parties that are prepared to support candidates in their efforts to win and recruit candidates to win. And then once there are candidates, Project 83 turns their attention to candidate support. And that's training for candidates. That's using the tools for the candidates. That's helping the candidates write a plan. That's helping candidates understand how to raise money, how to not violate campaign finance law, when to file their paperwork, all of that. Our folks do. If we need petitions gathered, I will tell you all, getting your petition signatures to get on the ballot seems easy, but it is not easy for some folks. Project 83 will help you get your petition signed and gathered. It's all of that sort of nuts and bolts of running that help candidates prepare to run and then run good, strong campaigns. It's a lot of support we provide. And I have to say, not all of our organizers have the same skill sets, but collectively they have everything we need. And they work really well together. So if my organizer in Detroit has never gathered petition signatures, but my organizer over in Grand Rapids is a pro at it, then the guy in Grand Rapids is going to go to Detroit and help his candidates get those petition signatures. It's really a family in many ways. They are not territorial in their turf. They will go wherever and help each other.
That's important. That's important to see it that way because everything flows together, right?
Exactly.
Everything flows together. So data and cultivating list of people. Do you have a centralized data team that helps to look at the entire state by county to say, hey, you might need to focus in this zip code even more than another? How does that
We
work?
do. We do. So another of the changes I made was to bring on data scientists as our data director. We for a long time had someone who was just she was lovely, terrific woman, but she was the van administrator. She knew how to set you up in the van. And that's about it. We brought in data scientists who really help us drill down to where we need to be, who we need to be talking to, how we find them, and what those conversations should be. Our team is terrific. I'm so proud of the data team that we have. We're absolutely centralized. We keep our volunteer lists centralized so that when we need to call volunteers from all over the state, we can, on a dime, call through volunteers and get them activated to do whatever needs to be done, whether it's attend a rally or show up and stand in front of some Republican's office and tell him why he's wrong. We have all of that in one place. And then, of course, we ask everybody who participates in our program, whether you're running for school board on up, to get on the van and to put the data back in the van, because that data helps everybody up and down the ticket. Those IDs where we have identified Democrats are helpful to everybody. And our team identified millions of Democrats across the country all year round, all cycle long. The numbers like that was one of the numbers that we tracked most often, was how many Democrats have we ID'd. It wasn't a vote for anyone specific. It was, I am a Democrat and here's where I am. And I love a good map. So my data team does a map for me with dots on it that shows me where we've been. And I will ask a question like, why is there a hole here? Why isn't there a dot in this spot? And they'll be like, Lavora, that's a national park. Like, oh, okay. But really very, very meticulous about making sure that we know where we've been, where we haven't been, where we need to be, and what the results of those conversations are. And I get those reports every week, several pages of beautiful reports from the data team about the conversations we've had. They track the issues that folks have mentioned in the conversations they've had. They track the questions that folks have asked us. They track the concerns. And of course, when they say they're going to support Democrats, we keep track of that as well.
That's important. That's good stuff.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned earlier you love diversity on your team. What is the racial makeup and language makeup of your team?
That's a really good question. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I would tell you, when I look at us on Zoom, we were very female heavy for a while. I don't know why that is. Maybe because the chair's a woman, but we've brought on some lovely gentlemen most recently. We went from, a Black chair and to one other Black staffer to now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, almost a dozen maybe Black staffers. We have an Arab American population here in Michigan, so we make sure that we've got Arabic speakers on staff. We've got Spanish speakers on staff. We do not have anybody who speaks Mandarin, although we have brought in volunteers to help us to make sure that we are doing our translations correctly for the folks who speak Mandarin. So we try very hard. And we had, for the first time this past cycle, the availability of Native American workers helping us with our voter protection program, so that we were making sure that our Native American communities were getting access to the ballot as well.
That's awesome. That's good to hear as well. Now, as far as legislative caucuses, do you guys work with them at all? And do they support your constituency outreach for themselves? Okay.
They do. So we have very close relationships with both the state House and state Senate legislative caucuses. We bring staff on through the party to support the work that those legislative caucuses have. I joked that this past cycle, the House leader and I probably talked to each other more than we talked to our spouses. We were very connected. She made sure that I knew where her targets were, where she was feeling weak, where she needed more support. And then we would point our coordinated campaign and our Project 83 power to the places where she needed the most help. And we did the same for the state Senate. They're terrific folks who have run really great programs, and we have been here to support them every cycle. But I think this cycle might have been our best job of coordinating with those two caucuses that we've ever done. And I think a lot of it had to do with the two folks who were leading those two caucuses, who understood the power of a strong state party and how to partner with us in getting this work done. If you could call it seamless, this was it. This was the best one we've had.
That's awesome. I'm glad this was a
Yeah.
great year for you. Well, 2022 was a great year for you. Well, that's all of my questions. I know that was a lot, and I don't want to do that to you on this great Thursday evening. Give us some closing thoughts, things that you would consider passing on to us here in North Carolina to get some similar work done, and just good words of advice, and of course, encouragement.
Of course, I would say this. You have at your state party some strong, smart folks who've been working hard. If you can support them in the work that they are doing, please do. Help them raise the money. I think it's important for folks who are on the outside looking in to understand the limitations of a state party that is not well funded. The DNC doesn't swoop in and write us a big check to do these programs, as much as I know Jamie Harrison would love to. That's just not how it works. We've got to do this work for ourselves. We used to say in 2017 and 18, Michigan needs to take care of Michigan, and North Carolina needs to take care of North Carolina. And you guys need to be raising money to help your state party build out a program that you want to see. And they'll build it. I know they will, because I know they want to win up and down the ballot. And the other thing I have to say is be patient. It takes time. And one of the hardest things I think for us to deal with, and I'm dealing with it on a different end this time, is that Democrats just aren't patient all the time. You know, we have this new trifecta in Lansing, our capital, governor in both houses of the legislature. And literally January 2nd, I started getting calls and text messages asking when the legislature was going to repeal right to work. They hadn't even been sworn in yet. Like,
Wow.
we just need to give it time and stick with it and build it. Start somewhere and don't stop. You can't stop. That's the hard part. It's exhausting, folks, but you can't stop. This work has to happen year round, all the time. There are no breaks. You can't stop.
Well, Lavora Barnes, I'm so grateful for you spending this hour with us this evening. Thank you so much. My heart is full. And again, we have work to do, and I think we're ready to do it, North Carolina.
You do it. You guys go organize Goldsboro for me.
We got you. We got you.
Thank you all so much. Have a great evening.
All right. I'm going to pass it over to Becca and Susan for some closing words. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Remove spotlights.
I know. I'm just sitting here trying to think, what can we do to entice Ms. Barnes to come visit us?
Really,
Anyway,
thank you.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, Susan. Thank you so much, Chair Barnes, for that. And we're so glad to have you connected with North Carolina still. So thank you. And Representative Staton-Williams, thank you very much for leading that discussion. We all learned a lot. And to everyone who's here tonight, thank you. We're asking you to take 3 more steps after this. The first is, please keep an eye out for an email from Neighbors on Call tomorrow. It's going to have a link to the recording to this event. And so we encourage you to share it widely with other Democrats. And on Monday evening, February 6th, we ask you to attend the forum for NCDP candidates. Thank you. For chair and for the first, second, and third vice chairs. And that is hosted by County to County. And you can hear their plans for helping Democrats win. The link will be in the email tomorrow, and it's going in the chat right now too. And then next Wednesday, join Carolina Forward's event, which is How Michigan Did It Part 2. And their event is about finding out more about from state legislatures, because they're going to talk about the nuts and bolts of recruiting, fundraising, and executing a coordinated campaign. We will have details about that in the email tomorrow as well, and it's also in the chat. Susan, pass it back to you.
Okay, well, just again, thank you all so much for coming tonight. It was so interesting, such an excellent program. And we hope to see all of you again soon, back on the campaign trail. So thanks, everybody. Really appreciate our speakers so much.